Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Catalyst Corner. Today, I'm joined by one of my favorite people on the planet. I've known him for, like 15 years now. He is a husband. He is a loving father, loving husband. He is an Air Force Wounded Warrior Ambassador and is currently serving as a Senior Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my dear friend, Don Hettinger.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for the introduction.
Hey, man. Hey, so let's get right into it. So the main part of our topic and discussion for today will kind of center around this wounded warrior thing. But for starters, I'm curious about what's the type of philosophy and mentality that you use for your approach every day?
Well, it really starts with you got to remain on task. I think that's partly because that task helps giving you some focus and some direction. And if you don't have that, if you're out there wandering, it's just not going to do you any good. So for me, it ended up being something that it took a little struggle to get through about a year ago, but we'll get into that and how all that happened. So yeah, I just remain focused and understand that some things just don't matter. They're out there to distract you, or they will distract you. And if you lose that focus, then you'll chase rabbits, as we say.
Yeah. So, kind of alluding to, hey, you said, hey, like a year ago, a lot of things changed for you in your life, in the life of your family, and in the people that are around you. So if you don't mind, would you give us a little bit more details on exactly what's going down?
Sure. Well, at about 18 years in service, I just returned from an overseas assignment in Okinawa and had a lot of things that were going a little off center for me. Couldn't quite pinpoint what was going wrong. A guy that could do a 9-minute, mile-and-a-half PT test, all of a sudden couldn't walk up the stairs very well, or was tripping, and couldn't run anymore without legs getting a little wobbly or giving out. So we couldn't figure out what was going on. So fast forward, end up arriving here in Albuquerque at Kirtland, and within 3 months of the assignment, I start losing function of my left side of my body, to include inability to know if I had to go to the bathroom or not, slurred speech. I even had a fit in the middle of the night where it was almost like a seizure in my left side, my left leg and arm locked up. So ended up just by chance getting an MRI to see if it was pinched nerve or something like that. And we found that I had lesions on my spine and my brain, somewhere close to 24, majority of them being on my brain. So that's, of course, for anybody who's in the medical field, that's indicative of multiple sclerosis. So that was kind of a gut punch at the time, thinking, oh, what's going to happen at 18 years? Are they going to medically retire me? Am I able to get my career back on track? The least of things that I was concerned with, oddly, at that time, was my health. It was more of my career and where I thought my focus was set, right? So kind of how I mentioned earlier, it seemed like this disease was a distraction, and I was losing that focus. So that was a pretty big struggle for about a year to get my health back on track, and not realizing a lot of the damage that I was causing to my family and to the work environment, friends and all that. Just something I didn't have perception of. So anyway, that's what I was really alluding to in those earlier comments, was that focus wasn't there anymore. At least it needed to be refocused in a different direction. And I had a chief at the time that sat me down and he said, Don, you've got to take a break. This is life telling you that it's what you thought was not the future for you. So anyway.
Gotcha. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that recovery process, and a little bit about the support structure that helped you as you began to deal with what has clearly been a life-altering condition for you and the family.
Sure. Well, I'd certainly be at fault if I didn't mention the support of my wife and my kids. I really did a disservice to them by not seeing how much the disease was damaging them and affecting them. And it took, I'd say, a good 4 to 6 months before my wife, Stephanie, and I had a heart to heart. And I made the mistake of, at that time, with everything going on, saying, this is my disease. It's not yours. Just let me deal with it. And when I said those words, and I saw the look on her face, and I left for a couple hours, and I came back, and I really had to apologize. And I said, I'm sorry. I don't know why I would ever say something like that. So the support structure that I had from my wife and my children, which I have 5, so my hands are pretty full. That was important, first and foremost. And then support from the command leadership. Like I mentioned, the chief I had that sat me down and had a heart to heart and said, as an aircraft maintainer, we never want to put the tools down. We never want to step off the aircraft. We never want to drop that wrench. But he's like, you've got to take care of yourself. At that time, he had a wife that was stage 4 terminal cancer. And, he mentioned to me, he was like, I'll never know what you're struggling with, but I know what your wife is struggling with. So we could relate quite a bit. And to this day, I still reach out to him. He's retired, but we chat weekly. So command leadership at the time, I had a great commander, great set of senior leaders that were looking out for me all the way up through the wing. And they knew how to connect me in the right places. Air Force Wounded Warrior program was there, something I had never really heard of at all. It just so happened that one of the chiefs in the maintenance group knew, he was married to the recovery care coordinator that was there. And I stiff-armed her so many times trying to figure out what was going on with me. And I would push that care that she was offering freely away. But once I started listening to her and taking her advice, that really changed things for me. I didn't have to worry about the career anymore. She mentioned a few things that the program does and how they help those that are maybe transitioning or those trying to stay in the service. It was just amazing. And to go out and do sports, I was an avid cyclist before that, doing competitions, and it was a part of a U.S. military endurance sports where, that's all we did. We went out and we competed, and a bunch of cyclists that just did crazy stuff, distance wise and event wise. So anyway, having all those folks help me get me on that track, that was really a key turning point for me. And then it helped me refocus and maintain a career. And now I'm sitting here talking to you. Instead of 18 years, I'm at 22 years in service. So.
Gotcha, man. That's great stuff. And from the Wounded Warrior perspective, can you talk about that, the additional support that's provided there, not only in use of what's called the recovery care coordinators and RCCs in your local regions, but also just the network in working with people who are dealing, just living and breathing with people who share your experience?
Absolutely. So the recovery care coordinator is somebody who's set up in each region, and I'm sure that each of the services have their different setup in that, but it's pretty similar from what I've heard talking to many of the warriors out there. But the recovery care coordinator is really critical from the ground. They may not be at the base that you're at, but they are definitely in somewhere in that area, and you can reach out to them. And then from that point, they offer not only the local services help that are available to you, but also if you're active duty or transitioning, depending on where you are in your stage of care, they can get you connected with folks at the Air Force Personnel Center. And they can also get you out to events. So if you are looking at your whether it's cancer, whether it's a limb, whether it's something that you're just done, it's better for you and your family that you transition out of the military. They can connect you with folks for employment. They can connect you with folks for just general care. They can connect you with sports if sports is your way of recovering, which is mine. And I latched onto each and every one of those to include the mentorship and the ambassador program, which, that was critical because a year from diagnosis, I was down in Las Vegas, competing at the Air Force trials, and I silver medaled in cycling in my ability group. So to do that 1 year out is not only for my disease, is it something that it's really hard to do when you're that physical disability, but just to mentally figure that you can do something like that. Like you can, there's always a way to yes. And it's just a matter of a lot of folks helping you find that way if you can't see it yourself. So.
That's awesome. There's always a path to yes. There's always a path to success. I like it. And so moving forward, for those who want to go and become more involved or try to figure out how best can I support these types of causes, whether they are veterans or others that have struggled with different types of illnesses, what are your recommendations now that you've been on both sides of this? I still remember, we spent many late nights running the Relay for Life in Wichita Falls, where we're doing these things for, another cause. And then when you're on the other side of the debilitating conditions, whatever they may be, as a family member, as an actual survivor, what would you like people to understand about how they can best help?
Well, first, as a survivor, as somebody struggling with an invisible illness or condition, is know that you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to go it alone. There's people out there to help. And then reach out for that help. That is important. Get those services that even if it's just a simple chat with a supervisor, a friend, a counselor, recovery care coordinator, whatever it is, that's very important just to help get that stuff off your chest. And then don't be afraid to give back. Even if you feel that you aren't to that level or you're not to that point in your healing process, recovery, just be there to talk to somebody else, because like we're doing right now, talking is what we as humans are pretty good at to a certain point. And if you're not out there doing what you're good at, you lose that value, you lose that ability to connect with folks into that level. And it helps you heal as well. So not only that, you help all the rest of them heal. So if it's an ambassador, like I am, where I go out and talk to large crowds, I went down to Homestead Air Reserve Base and spoke to the entire wing on their Resiliency Tactical Pause Day. Just one person coming up afterwards, or just looking down and seeing those folks' eyes, and knowing that you made somewhat of an impact on their lives and helped that program out. That's important. So, which leads me into the programs that are out there. Volunteer for those programs. If it's giving money, giving time, giving supplies to Air Force Wounded Warriors, Wounded Warrior Project. There is a list of veteran help outlets out there that you can latch on to, and at some point you're helping a veteran somewhere.
Gotcha. All right, man. Look, I got to get you out of here. Remember, so I always have a curveball question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What was the greatest skit on the Dave Chappelle show in your mind?
Oh man. So for those that don't know Tony and I too well, when that show came out, it was something. The world had never seen anything like that. So, oh man.
The greatest skit. You only get to watch one. That's
maybe Player Haters Ball. I mean, hands
Player
down.
Haters Ball.
Yeah.
It was Silky Johnston. Oh man. Hey, well look, Don, I appreciate your time as always. I appreciate you coming on and especially sharing not only some insight into, what it's like to go and deal with different conditions, but also figuring out how, or helping people understand how the different things that we may not initially see kind of manifest themselves in the relationships that are around us and the things that we can go and do as a result, like the things that we can go and do to get help or help others seek help. So greatly appreciate you coming on, my brother. Kiss Stephanie and the babies for me. Congrats to Dylan on graduating, the big guy there. And so anytime you ever need anything, man, I greatly appreciate it. Let me know.
Thank you. And say the same to Ina and the kids as well from us.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right.